Hi, this is Vincent. I'm still in the process of cleaning this graph, but before sharing it, I thought it might be useful for some to see how this graph is set up next to my ArtStation renders. So here you can see what I call the master graph. So it's the final graph where everything comes together. You have the concrete slabs, you have the manhole, and basically afterward you have some paint and clutters. So let's take a quick look at the concrete slabs here. The graph itself is pretty compact, and it's thanks to the portals, which are very fun by the way. You can see those. If you have the latest version and you select something, you will see what I just connect with some portals with those little lines, broken lines. The height map itself is divided in two parts. You have the slabs and you have the seals. I just blend everything back together at the end in Blend Max. So if we take a look quickly at the height map, because again, this video is just some kind of an overview to give you an idea. So here you have the 2D layout. So basically it's really classic. I made sure that to have the manhole pattern at the very beginning. That way I was able to just expose it directly here in my graph and to be able to toggle it on or off. Then after that, when I have my layout, I just enhance my volume, play a little bit with some bevels, and I start adding some other shapes like edges. I smooth things up, sculpt a little bit the shapes, and basically the main magic on the shapes and the surfacing here is happening, I would say, here and at the end. So here it's mainly some medium shapes from different cloud that I slow blur and just like blend back on top of my 8 map. I also create that little guy just to have some interesting breakup. Again, a bit of big shapes. Then after that, I just move to dot part that is basically some porosity and small detailing on the 8 map itself. So you could say basically it's surfacing. So porosity, eroded porosity, it's something I like to do a lot. It's to have different type and different size of variation of noise to have something that is more interesting in terms of rhythm and shapes. That step here is maybe one of the most interesting when it comes to the bottom part is the erosion part. And after that, I just add two little level of clutter itself in the material because those one, I thought they made just more sense. Let's move to another shapes. So, so yeah, basically I try to keep my clutters for the end and the master material, but I keep some here because they were really belonging into the material, like the little gummies and maybe some of the pebbles. After that, the color is maybe my favorite part to work on. It starts as a colored noise, so it's pretty straightforward. Mostly, I don't really like to have little artifact in my color, so I usually use some slow blur or mosaic color just to kind of smudge the base. And just after that, I just bring back more details and more frequency that I really control with some grunges. So moving on, from here to there, I just layered some color shift and color temperature shift just to enhance my material, but I try to avoid to just bake info into my material, like just add the AO in multiply or the curvature in add mode. It's not something that is really appealing most of the time. After that, I just basically move from the big to the medium to the small details, so it's pretty much like on the 8 map. So you can see that I'm slowly going to go deeper and deeper and fine in terms of frequencies and the size of the frequencies itself. When I arrive here, what is left is just the level of dust, patina, and a little bit of pigment, which is maybe one of the part I like the most. So for example, here, when I have that, I'm pretty happy with it. But something I really like to do is to add something like that. It's what I call pigment control, which is basically adding details in the base color that I don't have directly in the 8 map or the normal. It's something that in reality could be in the normal, but it's so small that it doesn't really make a difference. But it really helps to avoid to have double info in my normal and in my base color, and also to avoid to have some kind of noisy feeling to my surface. And at the end, just to tone down a little bit the fact that my noise part, my pigment part is a bit homogeneous, I just bring back, using that little guy, some patina on top of my material. So I really like to try to have the feeling that a lot of people just walk on that surface and it slowly change in terms of colors. I had a little gradient on top, and to finish, I just like on the 8 map, I just bring back the color of the seals itself. So here I was just focusing on the seals, so it's pretty intense in terms of frequency, and here I was just focusing on the big areas. So I just bring and blend back everything all together, and I just add a little sharpen at the end. So now let's move to the second material that is basically the manhole. So that little guy, we are going to jump right in. So the manhole is simpler. First, I'm going to disable my custom transform. That guy. Before that material, I used to at that time that type of setup with a material transform, but I realized that doing something like that is not really that interesting. I can show you quickly. Yeah, because basically when you use the material transform, you can see that you have basically no control in terms of how things are going to be filtered, which is not the same when you are using a transform 2D. Here you can move from bilinear to nearest, and it's a little bit like by default, the material transform is bilinear. So you can take a look here at my manhole and here at the same guy. I also put the mip map in manual, which is not really mandatory, but I thought it was just like adding a little bit of crispiness to it. But basically, if I just remove that guy, you will see that, yeah, we are basically losing a lot. And it is just because of that guy. Which is a shame because I think it's really useful to play with a material transform. Um, it saves a lot of time, it's cleaner, but the thing is that because I can't play with the filtering method here, I just rely on that little prehistoric setup. So let's remove it to take a look at the material. So back to it. It's really simple because as you can see here, I use that material on a very small part of my surface, so it was not the main focus of that project. So it's a very quick material, I would say. And basically, again, it's really straightforward. I slowly build the pattern itself, so I just use a lot of shapes. For those who are going to download the material when I'm going to release it, you will see that I use again a lot of portals just to win a bit of time and have something that is a bit slicker to look at. But basically, I'm just moving from basing shapes to enhance volume that I slightly chisel using some slow blur, which is pretty straightforward. And then after that, on that part, it's basically just 8 map buildup. So we can take a look at it from here to there. And after that, here is the part where I basically sculpt the mid shapes and add some extra detail. So we can take a look at it and just remove that little guy. And it is where I just like had the extra crispiness, little details, uh, interesting breakups. So it's not that complex. It is just some noises. I just broke here just to have the feeling that the parts are different, and I just blend those back as an overlay using a slight Gaussian to have something that is soft. Here I just add something that was a bit sharper, again, bit more variation. That little guy is pretty interesting in my opinion when it comes to metals. It's a setup I use a lot, I would say, playing with non-uniform blur to remove some frequencies and details on those high frequencies clouds. And here you have another little guy that I use just to play a little bit with. Um, you can see here the level of details again and frequency between those two parts. And at the end, I just add an extra level of porosity. So again, it's not that complex. It's pretty straightforward. And in terms of colors, it's really similar to what I did on the slabs. Um, but I just did it in a very smaller way. So here you have the part where I'm like basically focusing on the manhole itself. And here you have the extra layer of dust and little pigment on top. So I just start like that. I add a very heavy level of what I call personally patina most of the time on material. It's, when you're um, touching repeatedly something, very often it on a lot of material like wood and metal, even stones, most of the time it tends to darken, especially on something that is very neutral or light. And basically, it's very interesting to play with that. So what you can do is that you just can create some kind of thickness and use it to darken and also maybe tone down the roughness at those parts. After that, I just play with the difference of saturation and temperature between my material just to have something that is a bit more um, sexy. And here I just bring back some little highlight. So the idea was just to bring back a little bit of polished metal here because maybe city walker are just like touching those parts a bit more often. And after that I just bring back some little bit of frost. So it's just like pigment color again, and I really like to just play with the color and the color variation in my works. Here I just went a little bit heavier with the dust, and you have the dust here and here. It's kind of like sun bleach, a bit of crispiness, and then at the end I just bring back some darker tones because I had the feeling that I was losing something when I just keep it like that. It still felt a little bit too clean. If it was like my main focus on my project, I think I would add an extra level of maybe moss or moisture, something that could have like die there and start to just like rot at some point. But I just try to keep in mind that that material, the final idea here was to bring that guy into that master material where everything is going to be layered. So even the slab is a little bit clean, I would say at some point. So you can see if we just like that guy, just put it here, you can see that it's kind of clean compared to the final one. And it's mainly because I added a lot of sands and little clutters. So you can see it from here to there. And it's how I just finish my material. Usually I like to do it that way. So I can just like reuse that type of setup on several floors, even some walls, if it makes sense. And here in terms of layering, again, it is just a quick overview, but so you have the slabs. Here you have the paint. So the paint is a very classical setup I use very often when I tend to do that type of stuff. So basically, I focus on creating the paint. If I was like, okay, it's going to be full painted, let's say. And after that, I just try to focus on the mask itself. So it's a little bit like if you were doing it in the reality. And I just blend it back to my material. Here it's the step where I just blend again my concrete slabs with the manhole. So the manhole, the transform of the manhole was made using the sharp transform. I call it that way, but it is just a chain of transform in nearest mode. After that, you have the sands. So the all the clutters they are made the same way, and I used to do it since I don't know since many years now. And basically, it is just some atlasing that I did. Those one they are procedural. I just did those little guys in Designer, and I just scatter those here. So I just found that it make a lot of sense and really help to have that level of crispiness I was looking for and give a sense of realism, if that makes sense as well. And it's really finished the material in a way it was interesting, at least for me. And you can see here, if I move from here to there, that I add another extra layer of clutters. It could have been way more heavier. Um, I did a forest ground that was like maybe 10 times that level of layering. So it's really up to the reference you have and what you want to do. But basically what I did is that just after the dust, just after the sand, I just add a bit of normal info. Mainly you can see it here, from here to there. So I just add a bit of extra info just to have that feeling of thickness to the sand itself. And after that, I just, as I said, add a bit of, again, some pebbles and another layer of atlasing I just did. And that's pretty much it. So it's far from being perfect, and I just hope it will help some people to grasp that type of setup. And it was really a lot of fun to work on. So I hope it gives you a good understanding of this material, and I hope to finish cleaning it very soon. Thank you.